Join us as we explore the invisible energy system running just beneath your skin.
Mapping the vital streams that bridge our physical bodies with the deeper planes of life.
I'm Elliot.
And I'm Nadia.
Welcome to the Etheric Double by Arthur E. Powell. When I was a kid, the walk to school went past an electrical substation. Gray box, humming, behind a fence. And on the fence there was a sign, a red bolt of lightning. And it didn't say, keep out, or no entry. It said, danger of death. And I remember asking my dad why the electricity in there was dangerous when the electricity in our house wasn't. And he said, it's the same electricity. There's just more of it than your wiring can take.
Same current, different scale.
Same current, different scale. And that's today's episode, really. Because for 3 episodes, we've been mapping this beautiful vitality system, wheels and streams and colored light, all of it running at household voltage. And the whole time, the book has been quietly mentioning something else, a third force, sleeping at the base of the spine. And today, we finally opened that chapter.
Kundalini, the serpent-fire, chapter 13. And paired with it, chapter 14, which I've come to think of as its other half, the atomic web. The finest safety barrier in the whole system, the thing that stands between us and more than we're ready for, the fire and the firewall. And I want to say something before we start about how we're doing this one. This is the most serious episode of the series. The book's strongest warnings live in these 2 chapters, and they're not decoration, they're the content. So we're going to do what the book does. No spookiness, no drama. Just the way you'd warn a friend about something real.
Right, so Kundalini. First, where it sits in the map we already have. Back in episode 1, we met the 3 forces that stream from the sun. Fohat, which is all the physical forces, electricity, light, heat. Prana, vitality, which we've spent 3 episodes on. And the third one, named and set aside, Kundalini, the serpent-fire. And the same rule applies to it as to the others. It's entirely distinct. It cannot be converted into electricity or vitality, and they can't become it. It is its own thing, all the way down. The book also mentions it has 7 layers, or degrees of force. So even this one force has depths within depths.
And the names it's collected tell you how the tradition feels about it. The serpent-fire, the fiery power, and the one that catches me, the world's mother. Because through this force, all our vehicles can be brought to life. It's not a monster in the basement. It's something immense and creative that happens to be far beyond our current wiring.
And to the sight, the book says it looks, in very truth, like liquid fire as it rushes through the body. And the path it ought to move along is a spiral, like the coils of a serpent, which is where the name comes from.
And the symbols, can we do the symbols? Because humanity has apparently been leaving itself notes about this for thousands of years.
The symbols are wonderful. The old Greek mysteries had the thyrsus, a staff with a pine cone on top. The staff is the spine, the cone is the crown. In India, same idea, but a stick of bamboo with 7 knots. 7 knots, 7 centers. And in some of the mysteries, they used a hollow iron rod instead, said to contain fire.
And then the one that gets everybody. The barber's pole. The actual red and white spiral outside a barber shop. It's apparently a very ancient symbol. Spiral bands winding up a pole with a knob on the end. Because barbers descend from the old chirurgeons, the surgeon alchemists, and alchemy began as a spiritual science, not a metals one. So the sign outside the place you get your hair cut is, by descent, a diagram of the serpent-fire spiraling up the spine.
Hiding in plain sight on every high street.
Okay, so what does it actually do? Because we've been told what it looks like and what it's called, but its job is the part that connects to everything we've built.
Its job is the missing piece of the whole series so far, honestly. So, quick assembly of things we know. The centers in the astral body give the astral body its powers, feeling, hearing, sight, and the way we become aware of astral things is interesting. The astral body doesn't have fixed sense organs like eyes and ears. Its matter is in constant motion, swirling like boiling water, and every particle passes in turn through each center. So each awakened center teaches the whole body its trick, which is why someone functioning astrally can see in every direction at once.
No eyes, the whole body sees.
Right. But, and this is the wall we keep hitting, episode after episode, having those astral senses awake doesn't mean the waking brain hears about any of it. The letters, the doorway, all of that. To bring the astral experience through into physical consciousness, the matching etheric centers have to be woken up. And here, finally, is the answer to the question we've been circling for 4 episodes. What wakes them? Kundalini does. That's its function. It lies dormant in etheric matter, in the center at the base of the spine, and when it's aroused, it moves through the centers in turn, and its tremendous force brings each one fully to life. It's what carried the astral centers to life long ago in our history, and it's what has to rise again in the etheric for the bridge to finally open.
So every faculty on that beautiful chart from last episode, the clairaudience, the clairvoyance, the continuity, the fire, is the thing that switches them from potential to actual. It's the key to the whole board.
The key to the whole board, aroused, the book says, by a determined and long-continued effort of the will, and it must pass through the centers in a certain order and in a certain way, and the order varies from one type of person to another. And here's where the chapter turns. The occultists who actually know that order from first-hand knowledge are exceedingly careful never to publish it, deliberately. The book itself won't say.
And I think it matters to sit with why, because a modern reader bumps on that. We're used to information wanting to be free, everything searchable. And here's a tradition saying, no, this one we keep behind the counter. Not because it's a secret handshake, because of what happens to people who try it unprepared. The gravity of the dangers, Powell says, can scarcely be exaggerated. The most solemn warnings are given against attempting anything of the kind until the time is fully ripe, and never except under the guidance of a master or an experienced teacher.
And the book is specific about what has to be in place first. 2 things. A definite stage of moral purity, actually reached, not intended, and a will strong enough to control the force once it's moving. Because some of the dangers are flatly physical. Uncontrolled, this force can cause intense pain. It can tear tissue. It can destroy physical life. And it can do lasting injury to the bodies above the physical, too.
And then there's the danger the book treats as the most common one, and the worst. It doesn't go up.
It goes down. Aroused prematurely in a person who isn't ready, the fire tends to rush downward instead of upward, into those lower centers we closed the door on back in episode 2. And what it does there is what it does everywhere. It intensifies. It excites the lowest passions in a person and strengthens them past the point where the will can answer. The book's image is stark, and I'll give it exactly. In the grip of such a force, a man is as helpless as a swimmer in the jaws of a shark.
And notice what kind of danger that is. It's not a lightning bolt, it's not punishment from outside, it's amplification. The fire doesn't put anything into you that wasn't there. It turns everything up. And the book is honest that it reaches the lower qualities more easily than the higher ones. Ambition swells. Intellect sharpens, and pride sharpens with it. The book actually says satanic pride. So a person could feel like they're making magnificent progress, power is arriving, mind blazing, and be losing themselves.
There's even, the book notes, a school of black magic that uses the downward path deliberately through those lower centers, which is all it says and all will say. And then it quotes the old Sanskrit text, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and this is the line to keep. It gives liberation to yogis and bondage to fools.
Same fire, liberation or bondage. And the difference isn't in the fire, it's in the readiness of the person. Which is the substation sign again. Danger of death isn't a comment on electricity being evil. It's a comment on wiring.
Now, one situation the book handles gently because it happens. Sometimes Kundalini stirs on its own, spontaneously. A person might feel a dull glow at the base of the spine, and rarely, It may even begin to move, unbidden. And because the passages aren't prepared, it has to burn its way through etheric debris as it goes, which the book says plainly is painful. When that happens, it usually rushes straight up the spine instead of the proper spiral and escapes out through the top of the head, with no worse result than a slight weakening, maybe a temporary loss of consciousness.
So if that ever happens to someone, the upward rush, frightening as it must feel, is the less serious direction. The book says try, with the will, to arrest it, and if you can't, it will most likely vent through the head and pass. The truly serious dangers are with the downward rush, not the upward one. And its other advice is so sensible, it's almost funny. If you've stumbled into waking this thing, go find someone who fully understands it at once. Don't tinker.
Don't tinker. And to be fair to the chapter, it isn't all warnings. It also says what the fire gives when it does its proper work, in its proper order, in a person who's ready. Rousing the brow center, for instance, brings something the tradition treasures, the ability to hear the voice of the master, which the book explains means the ego, the higher self, your own deepest self, heard clearly through that pituitary link we met last episode. The still small voice on a good line at last.
That's worth everything the preparation costs, isn't it? That's what all the care is for. And two humane little notes to finish the chapter. The mastery has to be won again in each lifetime, because each life gets new bodies. But once a soul has truly achieved it, the relearning comes easily. And age is no barrier at all. Health is, only because the strain needs a strong body to carry it. So this door isn't closed to anyone by their years.
So that's the fire. And now the book does something I find structurally beautiful. The very next chapter is about the reason all of us, unready as we are, walk around safely every day with that force sleeping inside us and a whole astral world pressing in. Chapter 14, The Atomic Web.
The safety net.
So picture the anatomy. We know there's an etheric center and a matching astral center, and traffic passing between them. Between those two sets of centers, interpenetrating them, there's a web, a sheath. And its construction is remarkable. It's made of a single layer of physical atoms, 1 atom thick, closely woven, much compressed, and soaked through with a special variety of prana, which is what knits it into a living barrier. There's a diagram of it in the book, very simple and worth a look. The etheric center drawn as one circle, the astral center as another, and between them this fine vertical line of little atoms, like a bead curtain drawn between two rooms.
1 atom thick. The thing protecting every sleeping person on Earth is 1 atom thick.
And it's selective. That's the elegance. The normal prana that flows from the astral into the physical, the life current everything runs on, passes through the web with perfect ease. It was built to. But to every other force, everything that can't use the atomic matter of both planes, it is an absolute barrier. Life gets through. Everything else waits.
A door that only opens for the mail you're meant to get. And the book's list of what it protects us from is worth hearing in full because we live inside this protection so completely we've never noticed it. It stops the astral world pouring into your waking mind before you can bear it, which for most of us, the book says, could produce nothing but harm. It guards against obsession, an astral entity simply seizing your body, which it says could otherwise happen at any moment. It's the reason you don't remember your sleep life clearly. And it's the reason there's that moment of unconsciousness at death. Every one of those is the same wise mesh, doing its one job.
And notice, 2 of those 4 sound like limitations. No dream memory, the blackout at death. We've spent episodes treating the unbuilt bridge as a lack, and this chapter turns it over. The wall you've been resenting is load-bearing. It's not that nature forgot to finish the bridge. It's that the bridge has a gate, and the gate is locked from the inside, for your sake.
The lock on the door is the kindness. Okay, So now the hard part of the chapter. What tears it?
Four things, and the book is unusually blunt. First, emotional shock or any strong emotion of an evil kind, something that explodes in the astral body. A terrible fright can do it. So can an outburst of rage. The book says such a rending of the web can, in its phrase, drive a man mad.
Which hits close to home for anyone who's watched someone come back changed from a real horror. The tradition would say something in them was physically torn. Not weakness, injury.
Injury, that's exactly the frame. And the next two causes are the everyday ones.
Second and third, alcohol and the narcotic drugs in which the book includes tobacco. They contain matter that volatilizes as it breaks down, some of it passing from the physical state over to the astral. And those volatile constituents rush out through the centers in the wrong direction, the direction nothing is supposed to travel. Do that repeatedly, and the web is injured, and finally destroyed.
And for the completists, the book adds that even tea and coffee contain a trace of the same class of material, in quantities so small it would take long continued abuse to matter, but it's in there.
I did go quiet at the tea part, I'll be honest. My entire life runs on chai. But quantities so small, long continued abuse. I'm choosing to read that as the book giving me a pass and a side eye at the same time.
That's about the register of it. And the fourth way, which will matter a great deal in a couple of episodes, is what the spiritualists call sitting for development, deliberately practicing to open yourself as a medium. The book says that too can injure the web and throw open doors nature intended to keep closed. We'll meet that whole world properly in the Ghosts episode, so I'll just leave the marker here.
And the damage itself comes in two kinds. And the two kinds explain two different sorts of people we've all met. Kind 1. The volatile matter burns the web away. The barrier is breached and too much comes through. That's where the book files delirium tremens, obsession, certain forms of insanity. The flood.
And kind 2, by far the more common, the volatile constituents don't burn the atoms, they harden them. Check their pulsing, cripple them, so the atom can no longer carry the special prana that knits it into the web. The web ossifies. And then, instead of too much coming through from the other side, almost nothing comes through at all. Not just the dangerous traffic, everything.
And this is the saddest paragraph in the book so far, I think, because we've all seen it. The general deadening of the higher feelings, it says. Materialism, brutality, loss of self-control. The person who, after years of the bottle or decades of heavy smoking, has gone somehow flat, blunted. The music doesn't reach them anymore. Other people's pain doesn't reach them. Their own finer feelings don't reach them. The book's picture is that the receiver has been sealed over. The signal's still being sent, it just can't get in.
And notice it's the same barrier in both cases, broken two ways. Burn the firewall and the flood comes in. Fossilize it and nothing does. Either way, you've lost the thing the web actually was. A living gate, open to exactly what you need and closed to exactly what you don't.
And we should say this the way the book says it, which is as anatomy, not as a sermon. Nobody here is wagging a finger. The tradition is just reporting what it says these substances do to a structure 1 atom thick. What anyone does with that is their own affair. The teaching, not the telling off.
And then the chapter ends by paying off both halves of the episode at once, because there is a right way through the web. As a person purifies their vehicles, gradually, naturally, they become able to function in that atomic matter themselves, and then consciousness can pass from plane to plane, through the web, along the road it was always meant to travel. And here's the detail that matters. When it happens that way, the web keeps its position and its activity fully. The protection stays intact, even while the door stands open.
Growth that ripens keeps the guardrails. Growth that's forced burns them. Which gives us the moral of the whole pairing, the fire and the firewall in one sentence. Don't force it. The book's actual counsel is that the only safe way is not to force psychic development at all, but to let the faculties unfold on their own in the normal course of evolution. And, its words, all the benefits will be obtained and the dangers avoided. Nothing is lost by patience. Everything is lost by hurry.
Which, if you know our sibling show, is exactly the spirit of At the Feet of the Master. The slow qualifications, the patient road. Different book, same deep instinct. The tradition keeps saying it because it keeps being true.
So that's the fire and the net. And I keep thinking about how the two chapters change each other. Without chapter 14, the Kundalini chapter is frightening. Without chapter 13, the web chapter is just a lecture about drink. Together, there's something else. There's a power in you that could light every lamp we've spent 3 episodes mapping. And there's a guardian membrane holding everything safely shut until you're ready. And both of them are yours. You're not being kept out of your own house. You're being kept safe in it while you grow into the keys.
And next episode, the book changes register completely. And honestly, it's a relief after this one. We go right back to the beginning, before the beginning. Chapter 15 is called Birth, and it's about how a body, this whole etheric apparatus we've been studying, gets built in the first place, built in advance, before you arrive, from a mold, by a builder. The book means that quite literally. There's a blueprint of you, and something reads it.
It's one of the strangest and most tender chapters in the book, and it answers a question every parent has asked at 3 in the morning. Why did this baby arrive already themselves? And if this kind of thing speaks to you, this show is part of a growing family of shows over at Pillar 5 Media.
Different hosts, different books, all of us taking something deep and trying to make it feel a bit more like a conversation with a friend.
You'll find all of them at pillar5media.com.
And that's pillar, then the number 5 as a numeral, media.com.
Thank you for taking the serious one with us today. Be patient with your own unfolding this week. The fire keeps.
The fire keeps and the net holds. We'll see you at the beginning of a life.